Hey guys, what's going on? Joe and Mike back here covering some NBA from last night, April 29th. We all laughed, we all cried, we all had a good time last night. We all had a bad time at various points last night. Yeah, I think let's just get right into it. Mike, would you want to start with the Celtics one?
Yeah, I mean, with the fuck the Heat. What else do I really got to say? Like I said, when I don't think I did that pod the next day, but I said to you and a bunch of my other buddies, like when the Heat won Game Two, I was not in the slightest bit concerned. I knew what was going to happen. I knew the Heat would get one game, and that was their game. Um, I guess what I will say though is like shout out to Bam. Bam put up some freaking numbers last night. And it does make me like think like too like if Butler was playing, I do think that this would be a tougher series. I still think we would win like 100%, but with the way that
Mhm.
some of the players on the Heat have been playing here and there, this series would, I mean, obviously be a lot tougher. But like, come on, we all know what the real story of this game is, and that's Derek fucking White. Like that's that it.
Derek fucking White.
I mean, it's crazy too because, like I said, like Brown, Dennis got mad at me in the group chat the other day. But what I've been saying is like the Celtics aren't even playing that great of basketball right now. Like they're not even close to hitting their stride yet. Now that's good and bad. I think that we haven't really. I think us not really having like a competitive game till the Eastern Conference Finals can hurt us for sure.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like it's almost like I said this last night, bro. Like it's boring. It's boring watching us play because it's like I and I'm never this cocky, but it's like I know what's gonna happen. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I know what's gonna happen. Now, I know I do want to address the whole Tatum hurting his ankle with the Bam thing. That was
Hmm.
not intentional by Bam. And I'm all here for the jokes, but that was not anywhere near intentional. And people are just overreacting the hell out of it. It was so clearly it's what happens with every NBA play when there's when it's a dead ball and an NBA player wants to try to get a shot off. The opposing defense has always a rule of thumb. You have to contest it because you don't want to let them get a free shot off because momentum isn't with.
Whether or
And
not it be Missoula or a player.
yeah, and
Continue.
um, and so I saw a lot of people saying that that Bam, like purposely injured Tatum and things like that. First of all, Tatum and Bam are very, very good friends. Like very, very good friends. They're very close. They're gonna be playing on the Olympics with each other this summer. So that's just like, and trust me, I mean, you saw me in the group chat. I was posting jokes about like the injured Heat culture, like injure them, things like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that there are cases of that, but that play wasn't that. So I think people need to get their head out of their ass with that one. Um, I think Porzingis tweeted that he was fine. Um,
Mhm.
I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. I know like a lot of people probably are, but I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about Tatum's injury. I'm not worried about anything unless it's the New York Knicks or the Denver Nuggets. I'm just being totally honest. So that's my take on it.
So yeah, what was I gonna say? Do you know if Nikola Jovic ended up getting hurt? Because he had 3 points the whole game and they came in the first minute and he only played 16 minutes. Or they just bench him.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So yeah, nope. So Jovic didn't really show up. Like I said, 3 points. Then he potentially got injured, potentially didn't. I don't know. Tyler Hero had 9 in the first, counteracted by friggin' DW with 16 in the first, which was just outstanding. And yeah, no, the Celtics, I mean, I don't know what you want me to say in terms of how the game went. They pretty much controlled this whole game. There was one point where they had like a 20 plus point lead, and the Heat cut it down to 13, kind of like early in the fourth. And Joe Mazzulla, guess what he did? Guess what he did? he called that timeout and he called it like a beast. Nick Nurse could take lessons, but he called the timeout and we came out of the timeout swinging and the Heat kind of lost all their momentum. And I think it was a good timeout call by Missoula. I think Missoula's under high scrutiny. I know you disagree with all of that. I kind of I don't even pay attention to much coaching in the NHL. So I'm out the door on that one. I can't really decide. Like, I don't really know whether or not whose side to go on, but I think that was a great choice. Good time for a timeout.
What do I disagree with? I like Missoula.
Yeah, people don't.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were saying I disagreed with.
Yeah, no. Yeah. But yep, so Derek White at 30, 38. I could talk about that all day. Love to see it. Tatum had 20. Brown Brown only had 17, but like he had a few runs where like Brown was the guy they were going to extend the lead. So I don't think Brown having less than 20 was negative in this game. You'll see why I say that later.
Oh, but real quick. That's why, but it's actually positive because that's what makes this team so great. Is
hmm,
nobody is out there being like, I got to get my 27 tonight. Like, no, whoever is hot, let's just keep riding with who's hot. That is the greatest thing about this team.
VW. So Bam, 17 rebounds, 25 points, Hero 19 points, and Martin 18 points. I didn't know Bam was the kind of guy to go for 17 rebounds, but here we are. Um, and one of the last things I'll say before we get into those injuries on my end is Celtics have won their last 4 games in Miami postseason. They also swept the regular season against the Heat. So I think, right, do with that what you will. I don't know the addition. And this is the sixth straight playoff home loss for Miami going back to the finals from last year. So, I mean, uh, if we don't close it out in 5, then I don't think Miami having home court for Game 6 has any effect whatsoever. Where it would in some others. Like I like tonight, I'm like, oh, Bruins, you should probably pull it together because then you got to go back to Toronto. I'm not gonna be if we lose against the Heat in Game 5. I'm not gonna be feeling that way. Home
There's
court, in my opinion, does not matter to the Heat. Hmm.
there's a big running joke because like the Heat never have their arena filled, even in the playoffs, because it's like it's it, but it's a lot of those cities like it's Miami, so like a lot of people they're not trying to go to a basketball game, like they're out doing things like so it's much harder to pack the arena in Miami versus like a if you're in Milwaukee or something, it's like well okay like we want to go see the Bucks, you know what I mean like
Yeah.
so.
What was I gonna say? All right. So, oh, by the way, that dunk from Tatum was filthy. I sent you that video, right? Dude, my buddy was on the couch next to me because we wanted Derek White to get as like many points as possible, and and Tatum was bringing it in, and my buddy was like, pass it, Tatum. You know what to do, you know." And Tatum just runs it and dunks it. I was like, "Damn, fuck, what to do?" I'm like, "What'd you just say?" But all right. So first, let's talk about Porzingis. I'll say the one thing that injures me, what concerns me the most about Porzingis is he really was not um pushing himself during this play that he got injured. Like he was showing less movement than even Giannis when Giannis got injured going up the court, right? So it concerns me that that little damage could hurt him. And obviously, we all know Porzingis is made of glass. It's not like, oh, this guy might be injury prone. We all know he is. But I think because I'm not sure how many times he played 4 straight games in the regular season, right? So maybe he's just pushing it by going 4 straight games, which is ridiculous in my opinion. But he can't really control that. But yeah, I was concerned with just how little it took to get him out of the game. Obviously, there's complications there, but that's my note of concern. So he's fine. He's fine. He should be fine. He seems to have avoided serious injury, which is always great for either sides of the court. But it does, especially if we close out on 5 and he does get some rest, it still concerns me that it didn't really take too long or too much to get him into the locker room. My question for you is, would you bench him Game 5?
Um,
That's a tough question. Part of me, like, ideally, like, my first thought is yes, just because,
Mhm.
but I don't want to overreact to this thing. Like, it's like I feel like we're in a good stride right now, and I almost feel like I always say this to a lot of times, man. Like benching doesn't always necessarily help. Like it really doesn't. It does not always help the injury. Sometimes it makes things worse. It makes you more injury prone. So it's like it's a yin and yang. Like I guess I'd be okay with them. What I would honestly rather them do is play him like on like a limitation because they can do that. Like they can do like okay, like this is your strict, like you have a strict time limit tonight. We only can play you for 20 minutes or something like that. I'd rather them do
Right.
that personally, but I don't know. That's just my
Well,
opinion.
against the dirty ass injury seeking Heat. No, just kidding. But what was I gonna say?
No, that's
I would.
honestly that's not you. You bring up a fair point too. A team that's known to, whether it's intentional or not, cause a lot of injuries. That maybe that factors into it. So you might be right about it. They got nothing else to lose for the year. They hate the Celtics, so like, why not try to ruin our season? It's honestly a fair thought. You know.
Well, maybe they can upgrade to real turf and less people get injured. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I would bench him for game 5 just for the same reasons that I already said. Is it's not like we need to close it out in 5. Like I think that there's some teams that if they're at home court with a 3-1 advantage,
Time
would
out though.
probably want to do that.
Time
What?
out. Do we know how long Jimmy Butler's out for?
No, I don't.
Because if the Heat win, right, and now it's
Mhm.
3-2, and then all of a sudden, I know for a fact, Jimmy Butler, from the little you've seen of Jimmy Butler, I think you know well enough that Jimmy Butler will try to possibly force his ass back for game 6 if it gets to that point. So like I get what you're saying, but it's like no, there is a sense of urgency for us. There really is. Like we have to
Mm.
close this game out back at home, in my opinion.
What? Okay. Well, what's stopping Jimmy Butler from coming in game 5? Like, why are you so much more concerned about game 6 versus 5?
Because the difference between 3-1 and 3-2 is crucial. You're not gonna risk getting more injury, hurting yourself more. And also too, that's still an extra like 3 days rest. So like that matters. So it
Right.
makes a big difference to me.
Fair point. I'm pretty sure we play every other night now, by the way.
Yeah,
I thought I, I
we
thought,
play tomorrow now.
thought I did hear that on the
You,
broadcast, so that's
you,
nice.
you know what's weird too? Yesterday when I looked, it said that we played Thursday, but I guess because there were some eliminations, they like flipped the schedule a little bit. So
Dude, if big if the Bruins and the Celtics go to 7, it's gonna be the same friggin' day. I hate that. Ugh. But anyways, let's jump to the Tatum thing. Um, yeah. So Tatum, after the whistle, obviously takes a shot. Bam. I didn't even really see any contact from Bam. Honest to God. And Tatum lands awkwardly on his ankle. And then we haven't even discussed Big Al shoving Bam out of his way. Move! And like to go check on his boy. So they called a tech on Bam and a tech on was it a tech on Horford or
yeah, yeah.
just a foul? So I'll take that any day, just because how obviously the game ended up going, but just the showmanship from Horford. I love to see that.
I
And yeah,
don't
no, me, what?
like it was funny, but like it was so unwarranted.
I know it really was. That's why I don't mind it though. It's like Al just trying to show some sport or not sportsmanship, but like compassion first. And anyways, me and my buddy were both like yelling at the TV. We're like, what the heck? Like when they were calling Bam for the tech. We were like, we stand with Bam. We're like, what the hell is and do it whenever like it would pan to Bam for like the next few minutes, we'd be like, now would we have done that were the series closer? Probably not. I'll be honest. But yeah, no, I think that was a horrible call from the refs. I don't obviously, you look at the end score, don't think it was a game-changing call or shifted momentum in any which way. But sure, I know it was a bad call. At the end of the day, though, the game was not determined by that call, so you can't be too mad in the end, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But yep, if that's all you have, oh, do we? Oh,
Do we even have
yeah,
to?
I'll take the reins on the next one, buddy.
Yeah,
Actually,
I don't
why
have
don't you start?
much.
I have something I need to do.
Okay, let's see what you're gonna do here. Yeah, I mean, I don't really got much to say. I think that, regardless, I actually think that this was a successful season for the Pelicans. I really don't think they have anything to like. You hate to get swept, but like based off of where they've been the past couple of years, I do think this is it's a step in the right direction. And I think it's something for Pelicans fans to like feel pretty good about. Um, the Thunder are just a really good team, and they're proving, I think, no offense to the Pelicans, they weren't at full strength and everything. So, I don't really have to keep going with this, but like I see a lot of people saying, and I've even had this take too about how like the Thunder, they kind of like proved themselves. They haven't proved shit to me personally, but I do think that it's like a step in the right direction for them. But it's like you don't get any points for me like from this. Like you did what you were supposed to do. Like I think now we can look back on it, like the Pelicans were definitely one of, if not the worst team in the playoffs this year with their roster currently constructed. As it stands with the injuries right now. I mean, I don't think that's much of a debate, but I don't know. I'm curious to see because now the Thunder are now going to play either the Clippers or the Mavs, and I think whoever wins that series is going to steamroll the Thunder. So I get it, the Thunder have their rest, but they're a young team. Rest doesn't matter with them at this stage. Like it's not like they're the Lakers or anything. I was happy with I mean Shea played his normal game. He played good. Like shout out to Giddy. I'm just kidding. But
For his on court or off court?
Randy. Jalen Williams, I was pretty impressed with. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
I didn't.
I was very impressed with him. And then I mean, like Brandon Ingram, I don't know, man. I've had a weird. It's ever since the playing game. Just I don't know. Something's clearly been off. Like to me looking at him personally. I don't know what it is, but hopefully they can get that together for next season. But again, I think if you're the Pelicans, I mean Zion stayed healthy for most of the season. Um, I think you're taking baby steps in the right direction. Now I think next year you try to figure out like how can we like get into like that fourth, fifth seed and try to win around. I think that's what comes next. They're new, but again, hell of a season from them. You hate to get swept, but Thunder were just a better team.
All right. So let me start this by saying that Pelicans players individually scored 20 points twice. And it was both in the same game. Trey Murphy had 21 points. That is the highest individual score for a player on the entire team in this 4-game series. Trey Murphy, who, by the way, probably wasn't even starting every night with 21 points. So there's that. Brandon Ingram better come out to the media today and say that he was playing on 2 torn Achilles. I swear to God. 8 points. 8 points in a must-win do-or-die game is absolutely unacceptable. There was one point where who was it? Was it Dort? Where he was like Ingram was like at the free throw line, like not taking a free throw, but like that's just where he was on the court, and he was shooting, and Dort just comes in and like bulldozes him, and he goes down like a I don't know, like something that goes down very very easily, and he's just like. "Ugh." Like, what the hell are you trying to do? Draw a foul? I have no idea. Like I said, he better actually like in like non-joking now. if he doesn't come out and say that he was dealing with an injury during this, it is going to look extremely bad for him, and it is going, in my opinion, just blow up pretty much everything that they've been working on there. You got, let's see, Valanciunas is contract is expiring, so I would re-sign him. I'm not sure that they are. Marshall's contract expiring. Ingram has one more year. Murphy, Nance, Alvarado 1 year. That's their like whole depth. So they really do have just 1 year to put it together in terms of unless they re-sign people. And like I said, this is a big team. This is a team that their competitiveness is outmatching the opposing team's size. I think they would have done really well against the Suns, because that's what the Timberwolves used against the Suns a lot. They use depth and height. I think I think the I think this would have been the best matchup for the for the Pelicans. I think the Thunder were the best matchup for the Pelicans. The Pelicans were able to hold them under 100 points, I think 3 of the games, which is pretty dang good. Meanwhile, one of the others is the Nuggets. I don't even need to explain that to you. And the other one is the Timberwolves, who have the same strengths as the Pelicans, but significantly better, and obviously didn't have a star player like Zion hurt. So that's what I think for the Pelicans. I think a lot of it too is just they fall asleep and run out of adrenaline. If you look at the scores at halftime, I'm pretty damn sure either only once or not at all were the Pelicans ever like down bad at half. They were usually within like 5 points around halftime, whether it be below by 5 or above by 5. And then the final score always indicated like a 10 to 15 point loss. I think even 20 at one point. They couldn't break 100 points, and that's kind of hard to do when none of your guys can even put up 20 in a game. There's just so many negatives to be said about this team, and I agree with Charles Barkley. These guys need to go to Galveston because they do not deserve to go to Cancun at all. They do not. Wait, who went down there? Was it Scotty Barnes who actually went down there? They do not deserve to go join Scotty Barnes. And here's the potential dagger for the Pelicans is Zion would have been reevaluated today. So whether or not he was able to come back, it's just who knows now. Obviously, I don't think they were going to win the series if they were down 3-1 after last night, but it's still a what if scenario where it's like, oh, they would have gotten Zion back. What would have happened? Would they have won another game? Or I don't think it changes the overall trajectory of the league because I think they get smoked by the winners of the Clippers Mavericks also. But I would have loved to see Zion come back. I think that would have done a lot for the Pelicans team. And maybe, hey, give the guys a chance to get above 20 fucking points one night. Yeah. But let's go into really quick what actually happened because I've been only discussing the Pelicans. Jalen Williams, yeah, I'll be honest, I don't even know who the hell that was before the series started, and he has been a factor. I feel like the first 2 games, the third score, so obviously you had Shea and you had you had Shea in the beginning. It was Shea and Chet Holmgren for the first 2 games. I feel like were huge, and then Giddey and Jalen Williams stepped up in the second 2 games. And both those guys I never really knew in terms of scoring. I only knew Giddey because of funny haha memes and stuff. So both of those guys really did well for their team. There was like a stretch at the beginning or end of the third, I forget, where Giddey made like 3 threes in a row, and then Jalen Williams made 2, and that's really what kind of put the nail in the coffin for the Pelicans. But yeah, they get to rest and relax against the to prepare for the Nuggets, who are also resting and relaxing. So it doesn't really. Let's see. Wait, no, they're doing the Mavs and Clippers. So yeah, no, they're gonna see if they can go at these. I mean, the Clippers obviously are a very old team. I think one of the oldest teams in the league. The Mavericks. I mean, they're not old, but Kyrie isn't. Is Kyrie in his 30s? What, it's like 31 or something like that?
He just turned 30 recently.
Yeah. So I mean,
Actually, no, he's
that's not a
definitely.
huge.
Yeah, he's probably 30, 31.
Yeah, that's not like a huge factor in terms of Mavericks. I'm willing to bet maybe they want the Clippers to advance just in terms
Yeah,
of like,
that
Paul
would
George is going
matter.
to be exhausted, Harden's going to be exhausted. And that's kind of what the Thunder are probably hoping for. But yeah, I think it was an all around. So I feel like there wasn't any player that like came in and just destroyed every single game for the Thunder, which is honestly a, like you said, positive thing. I feel like Shea was probably the most consistent all around, but I don't think he was the best player on any of the nights personally. But you don't gotta be. If you're the second best player every night and then the best player rotates in and out every night, guess what? You were the best player on your team.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Shea was. And as for the rest of the team, I want to see more from home. I want to see what Holmgren did in the first two games. Because he was I was like, why did Wemby win it? I mean, obviously we know why Wembanyama won Rookie of the Year or is going to. That's a joke, but I feel like I was watching Chet Holmgren. I'm like, damn, I feel like a couple other years he could have taken this. I obviously don't know, other than I didn't know
Well,
Bankero won it last year. Couldn't tell you
well,
who the year
yeah,
before, but he's
well,
had a
la-
great,
well,
great boost.
well, last year was technically his rookie season, but he got hurt. So funny enough, if he played last year, he would have easily gotten Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah. So
But
there you go.
yeah.
But yeah, McCollum and Valanciunas had good drives near the end. They ended up with 20 and 19, but I think that's all we really need to say about the Pelicans. I really do think they're gonna let Valanciunas go, and I wouldn't. Valanciunas is honestly my favorite player on that team, but I'll follow him wherever he goes.
Real
What was
quick,
I gonna say though?
I think the Pelicans' issue is, and I hear what you're saying, like some of the things you're saying about them. I do think they checked out pretty early of this series. I
Yeah.
think in the first game they honestly kind of checked out. But I think their problem is like they have an identity crisis. They don't know who they are as a team. And that's because so many players are always getting injured and they don't really have all this time in the world to play with each other. And they're not these like insanely experienced players in the league. So it's like, it's not like if they had players who had been in the league for a while, maybe they could figure that aspect out. But like the Clippers do, but you just can't with a young team like this. And that's why like I shoot them a lot of bail because it's like, they just don't know what they're doing out there some nights. They don't know each other well enough. So like I think like we need to see them. This year was the closest they've gotten to like a fully healthy season. So that's why I think they're on the up and up. Like I really think I get you're frustrated and everything with them. And there is a lot of negative things you could point at. But all in all, this was a successful season. It really was. I mean, and I don't know. I just think that they kind of got to just put this series away and not really speak about it again and just be like, okay, we're focused on next season. We took some steps. Let's keep moving in the right direction.
I think if I was them, what I would do is trade one of their bigs in the offseason, like Murphy. Probably Murphy. Maybe Nance. I really like Nance, but he'd probably bring in more than Murphy. But I don't know. I like Nance. And just try to get a shooter. I think that the only real shooter, I mean, Alvarado is decent sometimes, but he's hit or miss. The only real shooter they have in terms of like 3 points and like this long range is Ingram. Everyone else on that team is a behemoth, a giant, and gets points under the rim, and that's what I like in basketball. You know me, I love centers. Porzingis is my guy, and that's kind of what I enjoy. But they're so stacked at that they need to benefit the other areas as well because if you have one thing that you're really good at, and teams are like, all right, let's spend like 5 days in practice focusing on that one thing. Guess what? It's not going to end up well for you.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you want to move on, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, you want me to start with the Lakers?
You got it.
Alrighty. So the lead script was not in after all, unfortunately. I thought that it was gonna happen. I really did. I don't think where to go with this. I think the first thing I want to say is people are misconstruing like, oh, the Lakers were right there every game. Like they're right, they're neck and neck with the Nuggets. But to me, like, I don't know. All that this is basically just proved to me that like the Nuggets can literally beat the Lakers in any way possible. Like it just doesn't matter at the end of the day. And I hate to put this all on coaching, but Darvin Ham, get ready to whatever the coach term is of get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. That's you're out. You are like beyond fire. Like you are. I mean, you were fired last week. Like honestly, like this. I'm honestly like I'm not even joking. He might have started packing before the first round even started. He is such a bad coach. It's no, like I'm genuinely being serious. Like he shouldn't be a high school head coach. Like seriously.
Beyond fired just has me dead.
Wow, like it's crazy. Everybody on the team has been doing what they're supposed to do for the most part. For the most part. And it's like, I get it, you're going up against a tough opponent, but it's like, man, like you have these leads sometimes. And then you know what was the worst? I'm on Twitter last night, and Nick Wright.
That's where he freezes. Dude, Nick Wright stopped him.
He like tucks his tail and pretends like it never happened. So he's on Twitter.
Wait. Stop. You said I was on Twitter last night and Nick Wright, and then you just completely cut out. I'm like, oh no, Nick Wright cut into the feed.
No, and Nick Wright, who you know I love, when he's like boast about something and then he ends up being wrong, he just like tucks his tail and runs away from the topic and pretends it never happened. So like last night, like he's on Twitter and he's like posting Wild's not answering his like FaceTime calls when the Lakers are up 3. And he's like, wonder why he's not answering. And I'm like, how stupid can you be, Nick? Like this has happened every single game this series. Like the Lakers were up 20 and they still lost the other day. So like what in your right mind would make you think? And then he's like at the end of the game, he's like, oh, you guys, I told you guys about Darvin Ham. Then I'm like, well, why? Then why were you bragging like they were about to win? I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, like Anthony Davis didn't have the best game offensively, but defensively, where like he shines, you know, he did great. He had like what 15 boards, I think. Like, you know, LeBron 30, 11, and 9 in year 21. I physically don't know what else people want LeBron to do. He played 44 minutes. He played the most minutes out of anyone on the Lakers. And let me see. Now, a couple of people on the Nuggets played more than him, but for the most part, he basically played the most minutes out of anybody this whole entire series at age 39.
That's crazy.
Like people, I'm seeing people like, oh, like him losing in 5 first rounds. It's like, bro, that man did. I'm not one to like, you know, always give LeBron full credit. Like I think he deserves, you know, some blame for some series, but like this one.
Mm-hmm.
This one you can't put on him at all. Like he did everything that he could. And the Nuggets were just a better team, man. I mean, the Nuggets just play team basketball. They don't have a bench, but that's okay because in the playoffs, nobody really uses their bench much unless you have injuries. But I mean, like Michael Porter Jr., Jokic, and Murray, like 26, 25, and 32. Like Jokic had 20 boards. My God, like it's just. I just don't know how you beat that. And the fact that the Lakers almost did with such a horrible coach that should never see the light of day in the NBA again, like, you know, it's just shocking. So congratulations to the Nuggets. And I think I think it's over for Lee Laker, but we'll see.
Lee Laker. Unless they draft. Could you imagine if the Celtics draft Bronny? Oh my God, what a chestnut checkers move.
LeBron would be pissed.
Oh yeah. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, it's so interesting that you bring up winning in different ways because I probably am wrong about this, but I feel like that's such a more significant thing in hockey as well. Because like for example, there was so the Oilers are this team that has no defense, no goaltending for the last like 5 years, but they have like 2 of the best players in the world and they always score all these goals. And the other night, they won 1-0, and everyone was like, "What the what the hell was that? I'm like, I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, if you can win a high scoring game and a low scoring game, you're a damn good team. That means that you can do offense extraordinarily well, you can defend and goaltend extraordinarily well. So I feel like that's the same in the NBA in terms of we can come from behind, we can hold a lead, we can play in a close matchup, we can play a high scoring game, we can play a low scoring game. What? Is that not true?
No, it is. I was thinking of Randy and Leahy when they were at the when they
Of course you were freaking thinking of Randy and Leahy.
but do you know why?
No.
When you said that they came from behind. Remember the one the horse's name when Randy was like, I have a feeling that come from behind is gonna take the lead.
I thought you were gonna go with the old who's Andre the Giant, Bubs? Oh my god, why are we dude, we've had this podcast channel for how long and we haven't done TPP yet? Jesus.
I know. Oh my god, what are we doing? All right, we'll get back to that.
Another no, we're saving that for when they only have the lamest sport of all time on during the summer. But let's continue. So yeah, LeBron at the end of the game was, I feel like at the end of every single game, LeBron has just been filthy. The beginning of the game, he looked really sus to me. There was one, did you see the moment where they like had a breakaway and like he passes it to Jamal Murray and like Caldwell Pope just like zips by and it's like, dude, he really should
So
have had that. Why would you pass that ball? You had an empty lane. You could have just driven to the net. And well, I'm not LeBron James. Yeah, you are. Go do it. But
so real quick, I think a very interesting thing, and this just kind of goes into like the genius mind of LeBron. So last year when they got swept by the Nuggets, the problem was LeBron was using because LeBron doesn't have as much stamina anymore, so he has to pick and choose his like sides. So like in the last series against the Nuggets last year, he was using all his energy in the beginning and was getting so winded by the end of it. So I thought it was
right.
interesting how this time around he kind of paced himself early on and then would kind of like turn it up in the end. So I think that gives a little bit more credence to that. I mean, obviously it still didn't work, but hey, fuck Darvingham.
He won a game. But
Fair.
Jamal Murray looked really good from three early on. Let's not forget that he was questionable to come into this game. I think both he and AD about like maybe like in the third quarter. So AD injured that left shoulder, or one of his shoulders. And I feel like both of them kind of like took a big hit in the third, and then like in the fourth, they kind of just the adrenaline kind of powered them through it. And
Mhm.
I mean, I hope this doesn't affect Murray in long term. It really does help that they have the week off now. So we'll see. But yeah, it is important to note that like halfway through the game, both of those guys got pretty banged up, and AD all. I feel like the last like few games, AD has been kind of silent in the fourth quarter, so I'm not sure that really contributed to that. He actually had a couple of decent blocks in the third. I'm sorry, in the fourth, but you know, in a do or die game, that definitely didn't help AD. The Lakers had a 16-5 run to start the second. It was a game of runs because then the Nuggets had a 14-2 run in the late third to take the lead. I'll tell you what the Lakers did do was keep Jokic under or maybe but I think under 10 points in the first half, which, like raise the banner. You did, that's a banner worthy banner 18 worthy moment. Um, but oh, did you see there was this one play where LeBron in the fourth like got it to the basket, like got a layup kind of, and then like he fell backwards and he was like kind of standing like this, like but like way more over, like kind of like a reverse Michael Jackson smooth criminal. And he was just like kind of standing there and then like started like backing up. And I was just watching. I was like, how the hell did he do that? it was more impressive than his 30-point night. I swear to God, just the way he just been in that. Did you see that?
Mhm.
You did see that? That was so funny. Um, but I feel like the moment that really ended the Lakers, and they did lose only by 2, so I guess you could say that it was the moment. Was when Gordon went. So I forget who shot it, maybe Murray, and then he didn't get it, and Gordon went for the offensive rebound against 3 Lakers. Obviously, the mismatch, the Lakers must have won this, right? Well, no. Gordon got it, passed it back out to Jamal Murray. He hit a 3. This is like with 2 minutes left. So obviously those weren't the last points from the Nuggets, but like that's like definitely the latest. You should have freaking had that moment for the Lakers. I don't. That kind of sucked. Um, and I did mean to mention this in another game, so I got to go check on that. Because there was a similar stat that I saw is all of the Lakers starters were in double digits, and the bench had 11. There was one team where the same thing happened, and the bench only had 10, or I forget where that is. It was some other team I mentioned today, but yep, it's over. The Laker over whatever. Off season for the Lakers. Well, just glance over this real quick. Because obviously we're gonna want to talk more about LeBron. Prince is a free agent. Dinwiddie's a free agent. I don't really see them re-signing any of those guys. Um, and D'Angelo Russell only has 1 year left. So if they wanted to pawn him off as a rental, try to reinvent the wheel here, because I think all of it though depends on obviously LeBron, and that's all we really need
Oh
to
yeah.
talk about now is
I,
what's going to
I
happen with LeBron.
I was just about to say, I think that there's going to be no move made until they figure out that piece first, because it's like if LeBron is going to run it back, then it's like, okay, we can go about trying to like still stack a championship team around him. But if LeBron isn't coming back, then the question becomes, okay, like how do we work around AD, or do we just start young and just blow everything up? Like, because that's also a possibility too. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think there's a lot of ways that it can go down. I'm obviously more interested in like what LeBron's gonna do, because
Mhm.
it could change the whole landscape of the league yet again. But to be
And
totally
you're 39.
to be totally honest though, like I hope it doesn't. Like I want him to, at this point, I don't want him to go ring chase anymore. Obviously, he wants to win a championship again, but I just really don't. What I honestly want him to do, I want him to do one more year, because he loves living. His family loves living in LA. They don't want to leave LA or whatever. So I don't think he's gonna leave LA, but he can leave for a year.
Clippers.
No, no. I want him to just go to Cleveland. They'll draft Bronny in Cleveland, have your proper farewell tour that you deserve, and ride into the sunset. Because look, to me nothing is going to change. I think LeBron is better than Michael Jordan, and I only bring that up because it's like at this point that's the only thing LeBron is still like. LeBron, the longer he plays and keeps trying to chase for a ring, the more it's going to seem like, okay, dude, you're in year 20 something and you're still trying to chase Michael Jordan, who played like 15 seasons. Like it starts to look away, especially like the more you play, it'll be like, okay, well, you won 4 rings now in 25 years. Like that looks, I mean, it's still crazy, but no, but I mean, next year will be year 22. That's not that
I don't.
crazy.
I think.
It's not. But I don't think he will. But I'm just saying, like, I don't want to see him. I think next year is the proper last year for him personally.
Mm.
Now, whatever he does to do that, like, I just hope it's not a situation where like he teams up with like KD or Steph. Like, I would
Yeah.
personally, and I don't think he will, but you never know.
LeBron on the Suns.
No, but yeah, no, that's kind of just my take on it. I just hope he just kind of don't feel like you have to win another championship to like cement anything. Like, bro, like You're whether people don't want to admit it now, but in 20 years, when you have filled up every stat sheet, everybody is going to look at you as the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
It's just what it's going to be. So,
So, what was I gonna say? I think they would blow it up if LeBron was to leave. I don't think they keep AD. I think they try to start it young. They're, like I said, one of the oldest teams in the league. They and the Clippers. LA is just a retirement home apparently for these guys. So I do think they end up getting rid of Davis. I think anything's on the table where LeBron to leave. You know what I mean? Like there's no one who's protected out there. Like there's some teams, for example, let me think. I don't know. I can't
Sixers.
really think of a really good example. Like a team like that is kind of old, but they have this young guy that's gonna really do good, and it's like, we can't let this guy go because he's our future. I feel
Sixers.
like Zion maybe. Like I feel like anything is on the table for the Pelicans right now, except for getting rid of Zion. Um, I feel like anyone goes off of this Lakers team, especially if LeBron does. And I guess my final question for you would be, because obviously LeBron still has a year on his contract, so he's going to need to be traded. What do you see a return being? Because I
No,
feel like
no, 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 no,
LeBron
no,
is,
no, 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 no. He can opt out. It's in his contract where his last year he can opt out and enter into free agency. So that is what he would most likely do.
gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So that takes away because I thought it'd be, because obviously LeBron has so much leverage in the league that it wouldn't even be fun. Like he'd be like, "Hey, coach, like, get me to the Cavs," and like the coach would be like, "Yeah, we'll take a first round pick and this good player." They're like, "Nope, nope." Just talk him down to like the worst for freaking bench player. Be like, yeah, well, LeBron and Adam. They're like, no. Adam Silver gives him a call. Hey, did you just deny LeBron something? See, yeah, we're gonna need you to take that back. I just feel like that would be really interesting, but that kind of stinks because that probably would have led to a lot of drama if the Lakers wanted something like decent in return and the team didn't want to reciprocate. And Bronny was, because I assume he's gonna join the team after Bronny's already there. So, you know, I feel like it would get complicated. LeBron would be pissed, and well, get to foresee any of that, unfortunately, because of the no trade. But yeah, it's I know one thing I didn't bring up. I meant to bring this up. So we were talking about well, not on the podcast, but just amongst ourselves. 81 games in, the West spot was still up for grabs between three teams. And I brought up some stat a couple days ago. Now let me adjust aforementioned stat because new games have transpired. The top three teams in the West are 12-1. The top three teams in the East are 7-5. Do with that what you will.
I don't like that.
It doesn't mean that the East top teams are worse. It doesn't mean that. It just means that the West top teams are so more heavily stacked, where there's a much bigger difference between like 1 and 8 in the West than there is in the East, or one like you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're
It
saying,
also doesn't
but
help
in
that
the
the
same
whole Bucks team is injured though.
I know what you're saying, but in the same breath, right? The Bucks have 3 of those losses, right? The Thunder
Mhm.
played against the Pelicans, who were missing their star player. Like I do get what you're saying, but like there is a lot of, and I'm not an asterisk guy, but there's a lot of asterisks on that stat to me.
I think it's still interesting though, because we were all talking about like, oh man, like who's gonna get the first seed? Like which team's better? They're 12-1. All three of these teams are pretty dang equal to each other. It's just in terms of how they match up. Maybe the Nuggets, definitely the Nuggets, I suppose, actually have an
I would
edge.
say
But
that the Nuggets and the Timberwolves are definitely closer than we all thought. I think. I don't think the Thunder are anywhere near those two teams. Like I think they would damn near get swept from those teams. But I see what you're saying.
we will maybe see. But yeah, that's all I have. If that's all you have, thanks for watching. 5 series remaining, 3 down. Hopefully these videos will get shorter for my sake, because I do put a lot of time into catching up on these games, recording these videos. So if you made it this far for some reason, thank you. Like, comment, leave a subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace.